joined by the Dallas Stars president and CEO, Jim Lites, who we were just talking off air that you hadn't seen this edition of the Texas Stars because it was before the lockout ended. What's your impression of the post-lockout Texas Stars?
Well, you know, last night I was here was the night before the lockout ended, and we had a great game that night. Cody Eakin and Riley Smith lit it up pretty well, and Alex Jason was playing here, and it was nothing but impressed with the speed and the talent that we had up front. And now I see this version, and I know we're sitting on a couple of guys as we've clinched the conference league, and I'm really impressed with the back end. You know, I'm a huge Jamie Alexiak fan, but I watched Kevin Connaughton and Joe Morrow play, and Cameron Gounce, and I've heard a lot about him, and I've seen him play in other scenarios. But Willie Desjardins has done an unbelievable job here. He and Scott White and Doug Lidster in taking an awful lot of kids and younger guys and turning them into a potential champion. And we're thrilled with the job that's done here. I love the building. I was involved in getting this building built in the first place in my prior life. The last time I was the Dallas Stars president. So I love coming down. Rick McLaughlin and I go back 20 years, and it's a thrill for me. I love being here. The opportunity to come down and hand out gifts at the end of the season is always a positive thing. So I love the team, and I love where it's headed in. It's in such great hands with all the people surrounding the Texas Stars. The community really, success isn't an accident in this case. There's quality people throughout the Dallas Stars organization. Here, we're focused really on development and drafting and developing players. And from Radek Fox, I get a chance to see him play at this level. I've seen him play in Kitchener. And I know Brett Ritchie's not playing tonight. He's been hurt. But, I've watched Brett several times over the last 24 months play in the Ontario League. So, we're just – and Curtis McKenzie. I don't feel right. I saw Curtis play a year ago at Miami, Ohio in Ann Arbor against Michigan. And, it's great to see him play. I was there to see Smith, and Curtis was also a draft pick of ours, and to see him playing really quite well and effectively at this level. It's a thrill. It's great.
Now, you have such a history with the Dallas Stars organization, as you mentioned. What's the difference been like in the last 4 years with the affiliation within a driving distance of a few hours here in Cedar Park, as opposed to some of the previous ones? I know that the Iowa Stars were a much farther distance from Dallas. That has to be a huge positive for the entire Dallas Stars organization to have such proximity between NHL and AHL clubs.
I will tell you that it reminds me a little bit. I know the relationship the Detroit Red Wings have with Grand Rapids is really positive for them. It's a 2.5-hour trip from Detroit to Grand Rapids, and my friends in Detroit always tell me what a great asset it's been. And we were always envious of that because there's really no place to put a team. Really no scenario in the early days when we were looking to place an AHL franchise near Dallas. But this is spectacular. It couldn't be better. We can call guys at 10 o'clock, and we get an injury at practice. We get a sick player. We can call him at noon and get him to Dallas to dress that night without having to buy a plane ticket. And it's not just about the money. This is our identity. This is what we are. And Austin's is in our television market. Austin is our state capital. There's a great affinity between Dallas and Austin. Our players are thrilled to come here. People love, it's no different than the reason guys like me like being in Texas. The weather's great. Yep. The people are friendly. The market's terrific. There's people moving here all the time. It's really dynamic. And you're creating fans all the time. You're in, it's as good a scenario as there is in our entire league and in the world. I mean, there aren't many better situations than the one that we have here in Texas. So, we're thrilled about it. I love the people, love the build. The building is great, turned out beautifully. Really a testament to the city of Frisco. That's my last interview. City of Cedar Park and all that they did to get this building built. It wasn't easy in this community at the beginning because it was a stretch, a reach. But they've done it. I know they're thrilled. Every time I come down, if I come down every 60 days, I see cranes and new buildings and new commercial activity and all the things going on. So this franchise is going to be great forever, I think, and you know, we're really, really happy with it.
One of the reasons why this is a unique season, and you mentioned being in the Dallas Stars TV market, because a lot of AHL teams don't have that benefit. In fact, they're usually in somebody else's market, so you have sort of a cross rivalry of what they root for the NHL versus their local team. In this instance, not only do they get to watch Dallas on TV every night, but because of the lockout, there are so many Texas Stars, particularly this year, that are recognizable, making significant contributions up in Dallas. And you mentioned guys like Cody Eakin. Brendan Dillon has been phenomenal up there. Yeah. Antoine Roussel has come out of almost nowhere. He really made a name for him this year. But even guys like Chason, Jordy Bent, and I could go on and on. The most startling thing, and I'm sure that you guys are feeling the same way, is the transformation post-trade deadline, where I think it's been the most exciting hockey that I've seen the Dallas Stars play this season is in the last few weeks as they charge towards a chance to make the playoffs.
You know, I got to be honest with you. It wasn't what we anticipated. I can't say enough. We traded our captain, 10-year player Brendan Morrow. Derek Roy was a pretty good player and a legend in Jaromir Jagr. And we did it for the right reasons because we wanted to build. We're in this to win the Stanley Cup, not to make the playoffs. I mean, we want, and you have a unique opportunity in a short season to move veteran players for really great assets. You're seeing 3 of them play here tonight, plus draft picks and other opportunities to get better. And Bob Gainey was with me when that all was going down, and Bob's who I think is one of the best hockey minds in the world. Bob said, and Mr. Ghilardi was with me too, the owner of the Stars, and the 3 of us were out after the trade deadline passed, and we were out having dinner, and Bob said, Tom, don't worry about it too much, because we were lamenting, we're bagged this season and all that stuff. He said, you might end up playing better. And he was prophetic, right? We really are better. We're playing the right way. The kids, you got to rely on them, and you got to believe in them. And Glenn Gullickson's done that in Texas, and we know what we have, and we know what's coming. And it's pretty strategic. We thought Alexiak would be better for Jamie to come back here, play 20 minutes, play in every situation, as opposed to getting 6 to 8 minutes in Dallas or sitting once in a while. So I just think we got to have patience. We're thrilled with where we are. We control our destiny. We need to win one of the next 2. And then come back and win and beat Columbus and Detroit in Dallas, which I think we can do. So it's exciting times for the entire organization. But I will tell you this, if and when we aren't playing and if Texas is playing, we're shooting those players back here. Because I can tell you nothing. I can tell you a story in the middle of the 80s. We had a really bad season in Detroit, and we just decided to send everybody to Glens Falls, New York, Adirondack.
I've been there. Love it.
We sent down our, names at the time that were just kids: Bob Probert, Joey Kosher, Adam Oates, Larry Trader. The list goes on and on and on. And we had an unbelievable run. And the next year, we finished dead last in the NHL. And a year later, we were playing in the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row with those same names. And that's what's going to happen here. We know we have as deep a group of prospects and draft choices as any team in the National Hockey League. And it's obvious with the record that's here, and they're getting trained really well by Willie and Doug. And, it's just a great opportunity for us.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, and I could probably talk to you for the entire rest of the game, let alone just the intermission. But I had General Manager Joe Nieuwendyk on in Charlotte a week ago Friday when the Stars had a phenomenal comeback win and Connaughton scored in overtime. But he was really proud. You could see it, and I've had him on a few times this year when he's been able to come out and watch the Texas Stars, of the Dallas Stars entire organization and the push towards youth and development. And you can see it on the ice in Dallas, Texas, even down in Idaho in the ECHL. They're in the second round of the playoffs there. But you can see how much his efforts and the prospect pool that started to come through. He said you just can't buy your teams anymore. And he really feels strongly about that. It seems like the whole organization is really behind that push, sort of, not to sound like it's a cliche, but that push to youth.
Well, it's the only way to do it now, and some of it's about money, but it's really about when you get great kids and you have them when they're young. We're building our team around Jamie Benn and Louis Erickson, and now Chason and Smith Dylan. They're Dallas Stars. It's all they know. That's what they are, and we're going to take this next group of guys and put them in right behind them. It's the only way to really, really get good. And Joe's done a really good job. Les Jackson's been, as a name, a lot of people don't really even realize the effort that Les goes. He's in Russia today. I talked to him. I texted with him a little bit, and he's in looking at the under 18 tournament in Sochi. There, it's what you have to do to be good, and we think our development people are really good, and our scouts are good, and we just know this is the right way to do it. I doubt many kids will play for the Dallas Stars that don't come through Cedar Park, and that's the way it should be. I come from 10 years with the Detroit Red Wings. It's the only way I ever knew, and when I got to Dallas, it's the way we did it there, and it's the way we're going to do it again as we, because we're interested in competing every year for the Stanley Cup, and that's what we're going to do. Well,
Jim, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for your time. I hope we can have you again during maybe a long run in the Calder Cup playoffs, but thanks so much for joining us today.
You'll get sick of looking at me, Owen. I'm going to be down a lot. Thanks. It's a pleasure.
Dallas Stars President and CEO Jim Lites joining us here in the Intermission Report. Back after this with more of 3-1 Stars on the Texas Stars Hockey Network.